Hello everybody, Dagmar Bryant, Mindset and Transformational Coach, coming to you today to talk about boundaries. Now the way I see it, I figure that we have two types of boundaries. One, we have tangible boundaries, things like fences and borders. We also have intangible boundaries, and that's more like energy. And let me explain. I believe that we all need to have some kind of boundaries, both of the tangible and intangible kind. Think about it this way. We all have fences around our house or our property in some way. No, not some of you people in the middle of the outback. Yes, there'll be fences, but they'll be miles apart. But for the most part, all of the properties have fences, and that's so that everybody can clearly see the boundary of your property. There's an old saying, good fences make good neighbors. And that's one of the things that we do with tangible boundaries. You wouldn't want somebody coming onto your property uninvited and, for example, having their dog poo in your front yard. Now that wouldn't be very nice, would it? Let's talk about intangible boundaries. They're the kind of things that is where people, they infringe on your personal being. Let me give you a few examples. I knew of a man who used to call his family a lot, and it was always in the evening, sometimes over dinner. It didn't seem to matter to him when he used to call, and he'd spend over an hour on the phone to the people that he knew. Now, I know that there were a lot of problems with this man, and I do know that he was lonely, so in some way he was reaching out to people. But here's the thing. He would always ask in some way for advice, but never take it. And I know of more than a few people who would say, well, it's really hard to keep helping this person, but then they don't want to help themselves. And after a while, he actually alienated a lot of the people who really cared for him because of his behavior. Now, for some people, it's really hard to set up that tangible boundary to say, no, actually, I can't spend an hour on the phone with you, but hey, if you give me 15 minutes, not a problem at all. So this man didn't understand boundaries, but what he really needed, it was a cry for help, but it was also very difficult for other people to respond to that cry for help because he didn't let people give him that advice, or should I say he let them give it, but he wouldn't then take it. Let me give you another example. I know of a friend of mine, and I'll call her Sally for the purpose of this video. She had a friend called Sue. Now, Sue would ring up Sally at any time of the day. It didn't matter whether it was first thing in the morning, last thing at night, and it was always about problems with her boyfriends. And I can tell you from what Sally tells me, there were a lot of problems with the boyfriend. And after a while, Sally said to me, I can't do it anymore. I'm exhausted every time I get off the phone from her. Yes, I want to help her, but I can't do it. And I had to say to her, well, you need to set up boundaries around this. Sue is feeling absolutely great when she gets off the phone from you because she's been able to offload all of her problems and all of her sorrows onto you. Guess who's now got the sorrows? Not Sue, Sally. So it's a matter of putting up boundaries around that. I know that that's not always easy to do because we want to help people, but it's not good for our own energy levels if we don't, because what happens is that we get really depleted. It's the same as this. Imagine for a moment that a complete stranger says to you, I don't have anywhere to live. Can I pitch a tent in your backyard just for a few days? And you think, well, your kind-hearted nature goes, look, I'm sure that'll be all right. I know, I don't know this person very well. It's a friend of a friend, but just a couple of days. A month later, You come home from work after having been really busy or really tired, and all of a sudden this person is sitting on the couch, your couch, watching your TV, your cable TV, drinking your beer and wine or whatever it happens to be, eating your food. And you're going, well, what is going on? Well, what's happened is this person has taken advantage of you because they know you're a good person and they're invading on your space and your good nature. So one of the things with boundaries, and that was an example of a physical boundary, and I think I've given you a few examples of physical, tangible boundaries as well as intangible boundaries, is that we need to be mindful of our space, our physical space and our energetic space. How do we manage that? Tell me, what would you do in these kind of situations? Tell me, have you ever had that happen to you? You know, I know of a couple who had this is back in Australia, had a beautiful 5-bedroom house, and I believe it was up on the Gold Coast, and they had grown-up kids still living with them. Now, when I say grown-up, these kids were in their 30s. And after a while, these kids just wouldn't leave. The parents had done everything possible, or so they thought, to get these kids to get out on their own. In the end, they said, kids, got the house on the market, we're moving into a smaller house, you're going to have to get your own place. Well, that was one way of solving that problem, but I would have liked to have thought that there might have been a way to solve that problem a whole lot earlier. Boundaries are for your advantage. Tangible and intangible boundaries. They help protect you and your energy, and they help you to stay in tune with what you believe and what are your values. Because unfortunately, and there's no real nice way of saying this, people take the piss. They really do. Now, not everybody, but there are people who do that. They don't even consciously always know that they're doing it because they think, hey, well, it's okay. You didn't say no, so it must be okay. I need you to say no. Tell me, have you said no? Have you had any of those examples or something similar in your own life? I'm sure you've heard of people who have something similar. Do share with me your stories, and I hope this video has helped you to reinforce some of your own boundaries. The sooner that you can put up boundaries for people who are taking advantage, the sooner that problem will go away. And if it's a problem that's been going on for quite some time, you may find that you have to be very persistent to help that to move along. Anyway, thanks guys for listening. Like I said, share your story. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you again next week.